housekeeping before we start. If you have any questions, you put it up in the Q&A session. Then I will bring it up. I will bring it up after the presentations and or before the presentations. So without further ado, let me call up Mr. Dr. Sulaiman. Dr. Sulaiman has a vast experience in cybersecurity for more than 25 years. At the early stage, he was into several black hat groups and involved in the darknet. And over the years, he assisted organizations in strengthening their cybersecurity, defense, and incident response infrastructure, and their cybersecurity governance and policies. He possesses a PhD in cybersecurity, certified in various cybersecurity accreditations, and recognized as a professional cybersecurity technologist by the Malaysian Board of Technology. Among others, he is also a certified lead auditor for ISO 27001 ISMS and also ISO 9001 Quality Management. He is also a certified enterprise architect by TOGAF Open Group. So without further ado, over to you, Doctor.
Thank you, Jason. Hi, guys. Let me share my content. Hold on. Okay. I hope everyone can see the slide that I'm sharing. Thank you, Jason, for introductory. Today we're speaking about top 5 cybersecurity concerns when we are working, not really from home, from anywhere. So we know that things are moving and most of us are starting to adopt the new norms, what we call it, meaning like you can't really be in your office, you cannot be in contact physically, but you still need to carry out your work. So this is why Mesiniaga is taking this opportunity just to share some of the concerns that most of the employer, even organization, having. Okay, let me start with. Okay, before even we start speaking about the concerns, let's talk about what really drives digital transformation. This is the business as usual you used to do. So if you look at most of literatures, they share these 6 factors. Now we start with how you can enable our user or our consumer to be more digital. They say digital interaction. Second is that how the company or the service provider can render or even can give out their product and services is much more in a faster rate and more acceptable by the particular end user as well. Third is basically they talk about how can they monetize or create a new model for them to do their businesses through the ICT. And those particular things will drive them to do to make decision much faster, really as the pace as what they demanded by the consumer, even at the stakeholder level as well. So to support all of those things, you need to have an agile environment where those things must be really worked on in an iterative manner, where you can just replicate from time to time. And lastly, to have all of these components work harmoniously, you need to have an ecosystem which support each other. So if you look at on the right side, you can look at how a business be typically growing. Like I say, that it's just render the operation where it can deliver to the customer. So I was trying to look for what are the metrics that we can monitor, can show that how this digital transformation adoption is. So I can think that the closest that we can look for is the data by Akamai. So Akamai mentioned that before COVID-19, the growth for digital uptake, I can say that the growth of the internet traffic was at 3% monthly. Okay, let's move next. You look at what is it coming around. Okay, when COVID-19 hit the world, I can say hit every one of us, we can look at there are some new things happening, especially in digital era. First, you look at the video conferencing. So even now, you're also listening to a conference which done via the web or via the internet. So it's not only us. You just imagine the first month after COVID-19 hit the world, there are 62 new downloads, new user registering, either in Google Meet or Google Hangout, used to call them, in WebEx. You had even using even a lot of more Teams and stuff, everything, just to get connected to do your meeting. Because why? You are given a so-called a challenge from physical to be virtual. So you still need to render your services. So video conference is one of it. Second, you can see e-commerce. So e-commerce data had boosted and had increased by 175 billion. Just imagine, just because of COVID-19. Okay, and then also what drive both of them roughly, we just aggregate it, the internet demand. So BT reported that their fixed line climbed up 60% just 1 month after COVID-19. Same as Vodafone. Vodafone, they do more on mobile. They say their mobile traffic increased by 50% of the common what they used to have. So if you look at on the right hand side there, so I'm sharing also like some of the illustration how the business were before, but now you have COVID-19 suddenly. So you need to really run your business as operation as normal. But how you want to enable it? You have those things delivered in digital form. If you take a very simple classic example, Amazon was doing very well, and Walmart was losing. If you read recent news press, Walmart has started selling their services online. It's very amazing, is it? They can just get it up, and because their sales was declining day by day because people cannot go to their store to obtain those goods and services. What they do now is that they offer those things online, and their sales have been growing. They say that now 70% of their sales are coming online compared to normal physical they used to do. So because you know what, the operation must go on, life must go on, so they need still to run their businesses. Now, if you want to introduce those things online, you need to also to know what are the risks that you're taking, what are the challenges that you might be facing. So as you can see the what you call it red icon that I put up there. First is cyber attack. Everybody heard about it, as well as people stealing, either stealing your information, stealing your money, and etc. So those are the two concerns that we're going to talk about roughly. Also to put up the same reflect back what Akamai data, just now we had it. Akamai was reporting 3% as I shared before COVID. Now they're talking about 30% increase month by month. So the demand of bandwidth is going up day by day, aggregating, and we know that the digital uptake is really boosting up, and concerns so piling up. So we're going to touch on the 5 factor afterwards. Okay, as what I shared just now, we're going to speak about the top 5 cybersecurity concern, work from anywhere. So as a summary, before I start, the table of contents that I've put up for you is, first we're going to speak about the fake email, the vector computer, misconfiguration, information accessibility, as well as negligence. Okay, let's start with the first one. Okay, fake email. Some techie guy will call it phishing. So what does it say basically? So normally, as what we all know, that the main communication had moved from physical instruction or command or communication to be more digital. At what Forbes shared, Forbes says that when we have this pandemic, email already become the main formal communication during work from anywhere. So how you trust your what do you call it, your instruction or your superior giving you any command is basically via email. So it's even Pop confirm it as well. So what if those emails are not really from the legitimate person? How you know that? So normally what phishing does is basically like they try to influence or lure the person who are receiving the email to think that the email come from legitimate or the right user, either from institution or even from their superior. And those emails will be asking the receiver to do something, either to click on certain link and do certain action, or even to share certain sensitive information. This is what does it, where you're touching on the fake email stuff. Now, why fake email is so important, or why it's so alarming? Now, first thing, you must know that as what Verizon shared in their findings, 90% of the data breach caused by phishing is big. So you just imagine like all the hacking attempt coming up from remote to your office, actually the 90% caused by email. No, I think surely you heard about this. They call it BEC. The word, if you start reading a lot of articles, say what is BEC? BEC. BEC stands for Business Email Compromise. Meaning like your email has been compromised. People can be like you, so-called, steal your identity and start communicating to get the thing done as well. think same goes as we read Qatar recently. There are some issues like people make tons of money just because of their email system are not really credible. No? Okay, now beside the 90% of data breach caused by email, you must know that what's the success rate. 10 people receive the email, 3% will fall for it, meaning that they're going to just, okay, the email requested me to send my boss's mail. The person might be sending the email, hey, I lost my password for my email, but I'm now in overseas. I have it in my phone installed, but I cannot open it. Can you email me my username and password in my personal email, for example? So 30% or 3 out of 10 people we just fall for it and just can do it. No, we just get to do it because they don't bother to go and double check. Especially those instructions or those requests come from the superior or topmost people. So this is what reported by phishing box. And if you want to know, those issues or the phishing already increased by 7-fold, 700%. That's what reported by Barracuda. Guys, I don't want to really teach you how to do what they call it, phishing email and stuff, but I just tell you that how easy is it for us to create a phishing email. I'm also sharing with you, there's one website there, https://emkei.cz. You go to the site and you'll be surprised you can even create your own spoof email with whatever identity you want. Just get it right, but I'm not teaching you. This is just for you to improve your environment. Okay, now let's move to the next point. Infected computer. Now, when organizations so-called like don't allow you to come physically to the office, but they still want the employee to do the work. And then you have all the so-called the enterprise system in the organization. So how are you going to allow them? You give them VPN or virtual private network, meaning you dial in from your house or from Starbucks or from MACD or wherever you are to your office as if like you are in the office. Now, generally in any organization, you have IT department. So IT department will check your PC, make sure your PC, you install antivirus, you have anti-malware, everything. So it means your PC is safe for you to connect to your office and to do your work. Now, what if you are connecting to your office using your personal computer or computer that had been compromised? You have ransomware installed. They call it a zombie. It's not triggered yet, but you're going to just stay in your machine and start infecting. If you are connected to your office, what's going to happen? Now, VPN, if I can just share with you, that whenever you establish VPN, you are as if within your LAN, within your local area network. As what reported by ForcePoint, ForcePoint says that the protection within the local area network, also machine to machine, with you and your other workstation, is much lesser or sometimes none compared to from the internet. I put a diagram you can look at like on top of here. See, you can look at like how the traffic coming from internet, you have firewall and you have all those protection on top. But if you look at like between the switches or between your PCs, hardly none. Meaning like the malware or those ransomware can just crawl and infect your neighboring computers, no? Until like too late and you can't do anything much. Now, what is it so much about? Why we are talking so much about these data breaches? No, let's say we talk about let's say we take some statistics. IBM reported for one data breach, it will cost an organization 3.86 million. You just imagine, that huge money. I'm talking about US dollar, not ringgit Malaysia. And now, most organizations are also very concerned about their uptime, meaning that how they can operationally render the services to their customers. Gartner report that the cost for average cost of downtime is $5,600 per minute. Just times the downtime that you're going to be caused by, let's say, your machine being infected, especially that those machines are connected to the financial system that you need to do approval or processing a vital transaction. How are you going to infect your organization then? Now, I just want to quote one example. So I think most of us heard about the what do you call it, the famous ransomware, they call it WannaCry. Okay, WannaCry infected more than 230,000 computers over 150 countries. And what the attacker wants, he said, you pay me $300 per computer, then only I give you the key to unlock your data. You just imagine that. So I also want to recall one of the news clip. If you look at like on the top left here, I have a ZDNet. It clearly say that how one hacked laptop led to entire network being compromised. Exactly what we are just describing now. Let us move next to the third point, misconfiguration. Now, I used to be a so-called like, doing some black hat, white hat kind of stuff those days. So what normally we do, those attackers, before even they look for vulnerabilities on servers or network equipment or whatever, we will be first checking on misconfiguration. As easy as like sometimes they have hard time to configure maybe their firewall. So what they do, they just say rule allow any all, for example, meaning like they allow any connection come from anywhere, going to anywhere, any protocol. So when you don't properly configure your equipments, that's it. It's a room for them to come and attack or take over, or you bring down your services, or even steal certain things. So again, it's no point that you buy a very expensive equipment, but you don't configure it properly, it won't do anything good for you as well. Now, why you say so? Now, first thing that everybody know, I think that whenever you do transaction online, everybody tell you, hey, make sure that the website got HTTPS. So they say that then only your transaction going to be secure. Is it? Now you look at Netcraft, what Netcraft says. Netcraft come out the research and they said 95% of a secure web server are vulnerable. You just imagine, HTTPS is not enough for you to trust that particular site. No? Now again, Checkpoint and VerSafe, what they come out, they say that there was a study done in one of the bank, they don't want to mention which bank, they lost $47 million within a very short time. Suddenly say the money just went missing. Okay, and if I want to quote near to us, an example of our Malaysian International Airport, not so long ago, the network collapsed. When the network collapsed, the system cannot be operated. You see a lot of people complain. So, and also if you read one of the articles or one of the news say that they are not denying if there is a potential cyber attack. Okay, they want to touch more on that. Now, also another case like one of the bank in Malaysia, again, I don't want to quote which bank is it. I think you can just check it in the net. What does it recall is that the ATM machine start dispensing money even without the legitimate PIN ID as well as codes. Okay, now let me move next. Information accessibility. What does it say? So very simple. No, everyone want to do their work. If they want to do the work, they need to be access to information, meaning like the organization must set up like who can access what at what time. And you don't want like certain record, for example, like your salary record is made known to everyone. So then how you do, you restrict the access. Meaning like only the payroll person can access payroll data. Only finance people can access finance data. So those are things that supposed to be done. If let's say not be done, what's the issue going to be? I just share with you. Verizon put up a request. No, not sorry. You put up a study. They put up a study and they found out that 70%, 77% of data breaches involve an insider. I mean, insider involved either to leak internal information out or give some credential to the outsider to go and get it. Either way, the insider are involved. Okay. Now, another research by Varonis say that 7 million data records compromised every day. Every day. Just imagine like, every day. Now also like today, 7 million data records. If you look at some of the darknet news, at the moment, if you look at it, there are 15 billion login credential on sale. So anyone want to do a brute force attack can just go and buy from darknet and can start hacking. Meaning like, maybe our username and password also is one of the lists inside. Don't know. Because of data breaches. So he's talking about the financial impact. I think everybody heard about WikiLeaks, and some maybe heard about this DDS. WikiLeaks now, they have 10 million documents just available for anyone to go and access and download to get it out. Just imagine, maybe our secret is there. Even some of the Malaysian government secret also are there. Same as if you want to recall about what DDS had. DDS, for example, they have 269 gigabit of data about 200 US law enforcement agencies, which is like supposed to be a secret, but it's available. Why is that? Because the data have been breached. So meaning to say that when we are working from anywhere and we are accessing those information, we must know that those people who are accessing it should have given the credential, have the right to go and access it. And we must monitor where this data being shared or being accessed and stuff so that you can limit your particular exposure. Now, let's say move next about the negligence. Negligence is the last point I'm going to share with you. Okay, what negligence says? First thing, they're talking about irresponsibility, meaning like an employee are given responsible, but they just really don't care, or an employee who have been so-called supposed to be safeguarding those information, they just say that I don't know. For example, let's say like a password, for example. Let's say door access. Whenever some of the organization they have like door access password or even access to file server, let's say they're connecting from remote, they just share it. They just put it somewhere, and people ask, "Hey, you shouldn't be sharing this particular password to anyone." And they say that, "No, I'm sorry, I don't know." But again, those are the contributions. See what IBM is saying. 95% of the cybersecurity breaches caused by human error. Either you purposely made it, or you, oops, I accidentally deleted it, or I accidentally turned off my antivirus and stuff. So 95% is huge number, and it's really, really enough. And then IBM also come up with another, what you call it, point. They say that 19 out of 20 cyber incidents can be avoided. Especially, let's say you are a security guy, you're looking at your logs. If you don't look at your logs, you really don't know what's going to happen. So if you look at how some people try to come into your office, let's say like, people try to use one username, a lot of password, even say password not accepted or password invalid password, something. If you don't block it, you don't do something else, so you really going to call for that attack to come in. Now, same as what NotSec come up with. NotSec says that if you put restriction too much in your environment, you're going to create creative users. Such as, for example, say like, okay, you don't allow any email to, with the attachment more than 20 megabyte, for example, 20 meg of file. So what the user will do, they're at home, the boss is asking them that particular file. What he does is like, okay, you upload to the Google Drive, you send the link to the boss, say, boss, I already upload into Google Drive. See, again, those restrictions cause this, you are leaking out those information. You also can consider that as negligence. The last point I'm going to share in the negligent part is that attacker also now starting to use social engineering technique. They use fear, greed, all those personal emotion to lure people or to influence people to give information. Maybe they can just blackmail you. If you don't give me your root password, then I'm going to whatever. So those are things also starting to happen again. Now, to recap the whole thing up, I just want to share two of the best quotes that I can come up with. So if first thing shared by Yuri and Adele, they say that if no indicator of compromise is found, it does not necessarily your environment is clean. You need to switch your gear. You look at some motive of the attack. If there is a potential motive, you need to go and dig it out as well. Another one is Fry Cliff. Cliff is saying that cybersecurity is only as strong as your weakest link. So cybersecurity is like, all of the component must be there, and you must make sure all the component is at par and also can protect. So that's all from me. I'll be here as well to take up any of the questions afterwards. So I'll give it back to you, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, for your comprehensive presentation. So I think we will go ahead and take some questions for now. Just a reminder, be sure to type your questions into the Q&A box on the right of your WebEx. Then we'll just give it a minute for the questions to be tabulated. Okay, meanwhile, we ran some polls earlier before we start Dr. Sulaiman's presentation. We asked how many percent of your current organizations currently work from home, work remotely, or work from anywhere. So the results that we have here, we have more than 50% of the participants today currently 36% of the participants today said that they have more than 50% of workforce currently are working from home or working remotely or anywhere. And we have about 30 to 50%, 11% of them have a range of 30 to 50% of workforce are currently working from remotely. And another 11% of participants have 20% or less workforce are currently working from home. So I think with this new norm, we have more and more organizations are changing the way how we work, and that everybody is working remotely. And there's the new. I think what Dr. Sulaiman has brought up in his presentations is valid, and is concerns that we should really look at. We also had another poll just now. Is we asked which are the current top concerns with regards to cybersecurity. The results are as follow. We have 30% of the participants top concern in cybersecurity is fake email or email phishing. And the second on the list is 15% of the participants thinks that insider data leakage, which is a data leakage internally is pretty much the top concern for them. And tied with that, we have 50% think mentioned that ransomware is also a top cybersecurity concern. And with that, we have also 9% on operations, and there's no visibility on the whole cybersecurity network, and also the overview of the infrastructure. And lastly, misconfiguration, which is the least of the concern. Okay, I think we should now go to the Q&A. Okay, we have questions. What are solutions to improve the organization's misconfiguration issue? I think these questions will be answered in the presentation later by Desmond, our technology partner. He'll be covering what are the solutions to the top 5 concerns by that has maybe mentioned by Dr. Sulaiman. So I think we will leave these questions to later. Okay, we have questions from Mr. Azman Abdullah. If we outsource network and security monitoring to a vendor, how can we ensure we are safe? So, Doctor, you will want to answer this?
Okay, thank you, Encik Azman, for very interesting questions. Okay, when an organization, for example, start to focus on their core business, so what they do is basically they hand over those responsibility of the non-core. For example, let's say monitoring their network and security to a vendor. The best is basically like you must also be given an access what your vendor is also monitoring. You must also not entirely transfer that responsibility to your vendor per se. Meaning to say that the incident, the alert must be made known to you. Even you must know that, okay, if there is a breach, for example, you must know. You must also be one of the person who received the alert, and you must also continuously be involved on the escalation process. What's the rectification being done? Either you're going to be a remedial, and also you need to also to be presented on the how you can prevent those things to happen. So my answer to that is basically the very valid concern. What you need to be is like don't entirely give out, especially on what it matter on security. You must be made known. How can we be made known? You must also be in their list of people who receive the alert, and also be known also what are the every phases of escalation until it will be resolved. So don't wait until you do a quarterly review or even like half yearly review, then only you want to be asking questions. It's already too late. So again, to sum up, is basically if you were to outsource those monitoring system, definitely the company or that particular vendor must sign all the requirement with you. Please, you must also have one person, if possibly the dedicated person or dedicated team internally, to be involved on all the activities. if I answered it correctly. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dr. Sulaiman. Okay, we have also this question: how do we prevent or limit insider data leak?
Sorry, come back. Sorry.
Sorry, how do we prevent or limit insider data leak?
Okay, now. So first things first is just now I shared like we must only allow user to access what they're supposed to access. So meaning like we know that, like for example, let's say payroll, for example, as simple as that. Payroll data only be visible or be accessible by payroll system. And then, for example, like financial data or customer record must be also be accessible by those people, the account manager, for example. When you have those so-called privileges type, you must only, okay, once we have those privileges set what you call it, set it up, you must do a periodic audit. So periodic audit, you have both ways. One is the user will try to do, like we call it the internal audit, internal IT audit. Okay, there is also financial as well as what you call it, cybersecurity. So you do it, you do the audit, you make sure that those rules or those control is really kicking out, put it like, it's really working. So to sum up is basically, first what we need to do is we need to set who can access what information when. Those are, they call it, and some of the potentially access right control. And the second one is you need to do an audit, make sure that the system is really working fine. Now, added on top of that, there are solutions, they call it data leakage protection. It's one of the solutions that you can look into, or even employer behavior analysis. Also another solution that you can look at, like how likely this particular user will be doing something. How you do, basically, like you're going to look at how the user do. Okay, the user try to access this, access that, and that. So then only the system will say that, oh, this person potentially will leak out information, and then you need to do proper investigation stuff. So again, share with you some of the best practices. You limit what the user can access and stuff. You do an audit to check, make sure that those particular control are really working as what you should. And you also can put up some solution like data leakage protection as well as employee behavior analysis. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Doctor. I think we'll take one last questions. Okay, so this question is, can we get the slides and after the presentation? Yes, we will sanitize the slides and then and then we will email out to all the participants via your via email. Okay, so now I would like to call upon Mr. Desmond Wong, the consulting system engineer from FireEye Incorporated. So Desmond bring over 20 years of IT experience in information technology. He has 14 years prior exposures in designing and delivering IT service management solutions, and additional 6 years in IT security. In between, he had an opportunity to pick up big data for multiple use cases like security, IT operation, DevOps, business analytics, and Internet of Things. He also had a degree in information technology, certified in ITIL, service manager, certification from Open Group, IBM, HP, BMC, Semantic Splunk, and of course, FireEye. Okay, without further ado, I think we are good for now, and I will call upon Mr. Desmond for his presentation. Desmond, over to you.
Hey, good morning. Thank you, Jason. Perhaps I'll try to share my slide. Need the presenter mode.
Just hold on.
Thank you. All right. Can you see my deck, Jason?
Clear.
All right, thank you.
Over to you, Desmond. All right.
Thank you so much. Hey, very good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining this session held by Mesiniaga on cybersecurity and working from home, or like what Doctor mentioned, work from anywhere, right? Yeah, my name is Desmond. I'll be doing a quick share about basically a quick overview of basically what FireEye is. I'm not sure if all the attendees knows about FireEye as an organization, and of course, quickly followed by the top security concern that was shared by Dr. Sulaiman and how potentially you want to consider protecting yourself from that angle, right? Yeah, so FireEye, if you're thinking that we do sell firewall, we don't do firewall at all, right? So FireEye is a cybersecurity company that we innovated what we call Advanced Persistent Threat (APT), or nation state threat actor groups, right? Almost 10 years ago, right? We introduced the concept of sandboxing security, right? By putting malware and luring it out to detect them without using signature, right? Using mimicking human behavior, and also machine learning, right? And besides technology, right, FireEye as a company, we provide expertise services, right? And these are the consultants that we have globally, right? And how are we differentiated from all our other security providers out there? Right? Essentially, FireEye don't only do technology, but we leverage on lot of knowledge that we gather from around the world. First things, we do provide services for incident response, right? We have about 300 Mandian consultants that is deployed globally. Their full-time job is to attend to customers' situation, especially if they get breached, right? The first most popular incident responder on cybersecurity will be Mandian, right? So we will go in to basically help customer investigate, understand, scope in the attack, perform remediation, provide public communication to their team, right? In the time of touch wood, customer gets breached. And secondly, we also have a group of 200 people. Their full-time job is to collect threat intelligence globally. They understand more than 30 languages, because a lot of chapters, in the dark web, deep web are not in English, right? Purely just to avoid detection, correct? And lastly, with the knowledge that we know as well, right? Looking at the real evidence at the crime scene in our customers that has been breached, we also get to learn what the actual technique, and procedures that's employed by the attackers, right, in real life to breach customer environment. With that knowledge, we also do red team, right? Military terminology. Basically, we will engage customers, or customer will engage us to do a real life attack simulation in their environment, right? This is to really test out what are the areas of weakness, gaps that they can close up, rather than really experience a breach in actual. Right? Statistically, last year alone, on incident response front, right, FireEye Mandian have performed almost 900 incident response engagements, right, globally, 900. Right? And on top of that, we also, while we collect threat intelligence globally through machine telemetry, that means the appliance that we have globally, millions of them, we also have our SOC, right, that we work with also with Mesiniaga and as our close partner, and also our own telemetry. And also we have our victim intelligence, whereby learning from the breaches that we've seen and we've investigated, we publish security threat reports on a daily basis, and 30,000 reports were published last year alone. Right? And of course, customers would also want to uplift their security resources skill sets. Right? We also conduct trainings, more than 100 trainings last year alone, to help customer uplift their security team. It could be as easy as networking fundamentals, up to reverse malware engineering, or perhaps even network traffic analysis, to help uncover threats within the environment. So yeah, this is a quick introduction of FireEye, what we do, and what we have performed over last year. So yeah, thanks to Dr. Sulaiman on sharing on the top cybersecurity concerns, right? The 5 items that was highlighted, right? Let me just jump onto the first one, right? Email vector, the email front, right? Fake emails. Similarly, based on FireEye's observation, with the 900 incident response situation that we have went into, right? Email is the number one vector that the attacker used to get a foothold into the environment. 92%, in fact, was actually got through email, right? Phishing emails, malicious emails, right? This is like the easiest way for them to really get a foothold into the victim environment, right? Secondly, with customers adopting cloud, right? Office 365 or even Google Mail in the cloud, right? Attackers can easily, like what Doctor has mentioned, buy some credentials from the dark web, use it to brute force attack into their corporate email, right? As easy as that, right? As compared to on-premise, the attackers have to get into your network through the firewall to be able to breach it, right? But in the cloud, is out there in the internet, right? So how do you secure it? One thing you can add on, perhaps multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication for email. yeah, you should really consider that to really prevent user emails being accessed from anywhere in the world, instead of working from anywhere in the world during this pandemic time, right? And of course, Doctor has also mentioned, and we also see that advanced threats are also evolving. And what is that, right? And this is basically what we call an impersonation attack, or business email compromise, or BEC, right? So in this example that we've seen, right, this is an employee in the accounts payable, right? She or he received an email from the CEO, right? Clarence D, CEO Czar, right? This name here, we call it friendly name, can easily be changed, and to anyone. I could be Steve Jobs or even Bill Gates, right? To a not so savvy accounts payable person, they might not be able to determine. And of course, the email is also a giveaway, right? A legitimate email address. Sometimes the attacker is smart enough; they would use domain that will kind of look alike. It could be for example.com. It could be exam3ple. They just replace the word with a digit, right? Just to fool or to make the victim to miss it, right? And thirdly, they will use social engineering approach to kind of receive an email from CEO. He wants to make a purchase and he wants it fast, keep it between both of you, right? So to a unknowing accounts payable staff, this may seem very legitimate. Right? And this is where they can be coerced to do something they're not supposed to do, right? Started to make payment to a newly created account. Right. To make matter worse, right, while working from home, right, mobile devices, staff are allowed to check emails from their mobile devices, right? And when the email pops up in the mobile devices, you show only the friendly name. And remember, I said this can be easily changed to whoever you want it to be, right? And there's like now 7 billion mobile devices around the world. Okay, imagine how easy we can sometimes assume and thought that email comes from the person that we thought they are, but it's actually a impersonation attack, right? And if you're talking about the 3% of the user that fall for a fake email, 3% of this 7 billion, we are talking about 219 million success rate, right, globally. So it's as easy as it can get. And of course, based on this pandemic times, COVID-19, right? FireEye, on our own, we have actually observed, right, attackers using COVID-19 as a lure to trick us to open the email. In this case, sent to a user, COVID-19 relief. Basically, you're getting a relief of 2005. If it's in ringgit, also is considered good enough, right? And essentially, you just have to fill in the form, and send it back and get a 2005. That'll be awesome. And they give you a password to open the Word document attached here, right? Now, this is another method that the bad guys, what they're trying to do is, understand you may have anti-spam protecting your email, right? I'm sure. But the anti-spam is very good at detecting unwanted emails, unsolicited or spam, those marketing emails and so on. Right? But they are not strong or may not be able to analyze this file because reason being is password protected, right? When anti-spam engine in your environment looks at this, they will skip it because essentially they can't open this Word file, right? So one thing you should consider, right? How can you analyze this file, right? Using the password in the email, right? And this is a real example, right? And once the user, if it's a human, a victim, types in the password, open up the Word file, basically a malware or malicious software or virus or AKA backdoor will be installed into the victim's machine, right? And then voila, they get a foothold into the environment, right? So how do we basically improve this, right? So number one, I'm sure you will have anti-spam in your environment, right? But those, like I mentioned, will protect spam emails, right? Some things that you should consider or whether check with your existing providers, right? Are they able to monitor or analyze URLs in the email, right? Because now the bad guys are able to put in a short URL, right? Or URL that look like a legitimate URL and trick the user to open it, right? I'm sorry, there's a poll that come out. All right, sorry about that. A poll has popped up. Yeah, and make sure that your anti-spam, are they able to analyze URL or not when they receive the email, correct? And whether they're able to also determine phishing email, right? And this way of detecting it is very different from anti-spam, right? We need to look at a combination of a sender email address. We will check it with a friendly username that, remember I said, can be easily changed. And we also can check the content, right? Like doing some kind of keywords that says urgent, contact me directly, payment, account, check, right? So those kind of analysis, right? And that's how we can deter impersonation attack or BEC attack, right? And of course, how about improving that engine by taking adversarial intelligence, right? Like a provider that has threat intelligence capability, like FireEye, right? And also have victim intelligence, whereby a provider that actually does real-life investigation of cybersecurity breaches. So yeah, some things for you to ponder on the security front and to really strengthen up your email vector. Right? Remember, 92% comes from email, right? And what email security that we can offer is not replacing your anti-spam. We are adding another layer of protection, right? Concept of defense in depth. Right. On the other front, computer-wise, right, like what Doctor has mentioned, with users working from home, they VPN in, they are literally like working from within the LAN, right? If they are infected by the email just now, right, the bad guy has already got a foothold in, and the machine will talk back to the machines outside. And thereon the solution that you need to consider, right? Though 50% of people are working from home, right, your core assets, right, your database in your corporate network, your servers in your corporate network, sitting behind a firewall, they are still being actively accessed by the users from home, right? So what you need to consider, right, on top of your existing firewall or IPS, right, you need to consider adding layers of protection, perhaps advanced persistent threat solution, right, that can look into signatureless attack, be able to analyze attachment that comes into the network, analyze URLs that comes into the network. Are they malicious or not? And these are something that not firewall does, right? And firewall just says, I allow port 80 because everyone needs to serve the web, but they don't analyze what is in the attachment, what are they downloading, or which website are they going to? Is it a phishing website, right? So this is something you should need to consider, adding advanced threat detection in the network, because people are still connecting back to your network, right? And especially users working from home now, understandably, they have antivirus, right? But as we have seen, right, breaches are very rampant, even near home, right? We've seen big organizations, could be banking, could be big conglomerates, they got breached as well, right? Or even somewhere wide, right? They also have firewall, they also have IPS, they have antivirus. They may even have data loss prevention system for all we know, right? But they still get breached, right? Why? Right? So some of the things that you would want to consider as well, adding additional protection on the endpoint by putting engines that can detect behavior on the endpoint, you know. Quick example, right? If there's a ransomware that landed, and normally it comes in a Word document format, right? It will, underneath, perform a remote connection out to a server. We call it a command and control, whereby the attacker can send in instruction to trigger encryption, right? Or they send in instruction to delete a backup copy of the operating system. What endpoint advanced threat protection solution can do is that they can detect this type of behavior, or we call it methodology, right? So that, you know, it doesn't rely on signature that gets outdated on a daily basis, right? Correct? Because we are looking at 1 million malware being introduced per day in the world, right? How can we keep up with signature detection that's predominantly used by antivirus? So this is how we think that network, you still need to add another advanced detection layer. On the endpoint, another advanced detection layer on top of antivirus. And we are not talking about replacing your existing security control. Yeah, third concern will be configuration, right? Humans or even deployment in general. A lot of times we tend to, or the service provider or implementers tend to put in default configuration, and we don't know, right? I mean, we will just do a UAT and sign it off, and it works, but it's default configuration, and that leaves a lot of room for improvement, right? So this is a report that's run by FireEye Mandiant last year. What we did was we did this with about 200 plus organizations globally, cutting across financial, manufacturing, service provider, and so on, right? Basically, we noticed that when we do the testing, right, to validate their security control, we are doing testing on their security control, 53% were not even aware what was being launched, right? AKA, right, I run 100 attack techniques against this company. They are not aware of 53 of them. They're only aware of 47 of them. Right? So this is visibility problem. And this is due to misconfigured tools, right? Aligning with what Dr. Sulaiman's finding, right? Misconfiguration. Sometimes perhaps even broken processes. Right? And out of this 53% that was missed, right? So 47, out of 47, the organization can only detect about 11 of them, right? Can you imagine out of the 100 attacks that we launched, 11 was detected. Right? This is how serious visibility is on misconfiguration and potentially how bad guys can easily penetrate into your environment, right? Point to ponder. So yeah, just a quick overview, right? Today you may have antivirus in your environment. You may even have data loss prevention or data leak prevention, firewall, or even security information and event management platform, SIEM, right? So how do you know that these are actually configured correctly, right? And of course, FireEye with Mesiniaga, we have a solution to basically help you test your security controls, right? We can actually, pick a security content pack. It could be an attack. We can say want to simulate a WannaCry download, right? 6 variant of the WannaCry and send it across your security control from the internet down to your local area network to see that whether your firewall detected or not. How many was detected? Maybe 2. How many was blocked? Maybe 0. Then we'll pull from your IPS. Did it detected that same event? Maybe 0. And then we'll check with your antivirus. How many did it block? Probably 1. And then it missed another 6. Right? And we are able to give you in numerical reports each of your security control. How are they performing? And this is how you can literally validate and confirm your configuration is correct or at the optimized level, right? And like I said, a lot of times our default configuration. Right? So yeah, basically the outcome would be evidence, right, of all your security control. Just to name some of these common brands, firewalls, it could be a Palo, it could be a Checkpoint, it could be a Blue Code, it could be WebSense. We will give you in numerical format how many they have blocked, how many they have missed, right? And literally we can bring that data to your security team to strengthen the policy or rules, right? Secondly, if you're a security advocate, right, there's a MITRE attack framework that lists out 12 stages of attack that can be used. And it consists of almost about 300 over techniques that can be used to attack your environment. We also give you a full detailed dashboard on each technique, right? And each technology, how are they performing against that technique? It could be a privilege escalation. It could be how they stay in persistent in the environment. How effective is your security? And lastly, if you're even more mature, you want to look at threat nations, state threat actors, right? What are the technique, and procedures that you are protected against, right? It could be APT Group 41, state-sponsored by China, right? They are highly funded and they come up with 100 techniques to basically infiltrate you, right? And you might want to measure yourself against that. Yeah, this is just some result that you can provide on. And lastly, kind of combine accessibility and negligence together, right? I mean, people have to be given what they need to be given, but I mean, sometimes they are not bad, the people, the employees, but it could be a case of their account has been compromised, right? They could be sent to a phishing website, then they innocently think that they're logging into your corporate Microsoft website, right? And the bad guys or the attacker just steal their credential, and how do you get a visibility into that, right? And this is where Mesiniaga and even FireEye, we can provide you with SOC services, Security Operation Center services, or managed security services monitoring for you 24/7 using SIEM technology. Basically, this SIEM is a technology that can collect all the security logs from your endpoint, from your firewall, from the servers, and this is where we can do analysis, right? And find out, number one, as users are working remotely, right? How do we know that Jason is logging in now from KL, an hour later he's logging in from Estonia, right? That is geographically improbable, right? And this is where we can uncover malicious login, right? And this is the case that compromised credential, their credential has been leaked to the attacker, right? That's first. Secondly, users, right? We can kind of baseline how users are using the network. For example, for the past 30 days, Jason has been uploading 10 megabyte of file on average on a daily basis. And suddenly he sent out a 200 meg file to the internet, right? And then we can generate an alert to say, hey, we noticed a user anomaly here about Jason, maybe you want to look at that. And thirdly, security remediation action can be orchestrated, be it manually or automatically, right? Perhaps disable this user account temporarily because we observe something malicious going on about it, right? And some of the console, some of the console can be used to display this information. Yeah, and this is in a quick manner. What Mesiniaga and FireEye can help you protect yourself, right? In terms of that was more in terms of technology per se, right? A lot of those. We can also help augment services to you, whereby we can provide some assessment services. It could be security operation monitoring services for you to help you monitor 24/7, perhaps. If you're concerned whether you have active threat in your environment, there could be compromise assessment activity that can be rendered, right? If you are in the FSI industry, the RMIT does say that perhaps you have to do an annual compromise assessment to see whether there's active threats in the environment, or even a red teaming of your existing infrastructure on an annual basis as well. Right? And thirdly, you need to know the attackers better to protect yourself better, right? And you also need to know who are the potential threat actor that's targeting you, right? By knowing that, you can prioritize your security spending to the areas that matters to your industry or organization. Right? And hence, hope this give you a good, quick insights into how we can protect yourself in this top 5 concern in these pandemic times. Thank you. Back to you, Jason.
Thank you, Desmond. Thank you for your insightful presentation on the solutions to the top five C-levels cybersecurity concerns that is mentioned by Dr. Sulaiman. Okay, so now we still have some time for Q&A, but before that, let me just have a quick results on the poll that we have ran. We ran a poll asking, do you prefer cybersecurity solutions to be implemented as a service, or do you prefer it to have an upfront capex investment with vendor providing maintenance and support? So we have a very clear result here, which is 70% of the participants thinks that they want it as a cybersecurity as a service. In other words, managed security services, and only 15% want it have a capex investment and a vendor to do a traditional support and maintenance. Okay. We are running another poll right now, but let me jump to the questions and answer first. Okay, so we have a questions. Is there any other participants in this session? Yes. We have. I think we have about 104 participants in this call on today's webinar. So it's just that we are moderating the questions, and also so that the presentations will not be disrupted. So we are moderating the questions. Okay, let's get to the actual questions. Okay, so we have these questions. We are using O365, Office 365 right now, and with EOP. So do we still need to implement FireEye as another layer of protection? If yes, how many % extra benefit that are we expecting? Desmond, over to you.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Azman, for the good question. Yeah, and the answer is yes, right? So based on one of our research study that we have done, customers globally, when they are even on O365 with Microsoft so-called ATP protection, we observe an average of 20% of additional detection on top of EOP's detection rate. So that 20% that they miss, is good enough to create an impact of a
I see. Affected by ransomware attack. Questions by Encik Faisal.
I would love to say yes, but we don't help you recover the data. So the best practice wise, good backups is highly recommended. While our endpoint security do detect ransomware behavior and stop them. That's if you have FireEye endpoint security. But if not, unfortunately, sorry, we can't help do the data recovery part. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So Encik Nasri, question sounds like this: is VPN or similar technology still relevant to protect users working from home or remotely?
I think probably I'll just take that. So the VPN technology is basically to allow users to kind of work from home as if they are working from the office, but security technology is still very relevant, right? Because if the user gets infected at home by plugging in a USB, you're potentially causing the outbreak in the corporate network because you are literally like within the corporate network, number one. Number two, you still need to put in things like additional technology, perhaps data loss prevention, if there's something that is of your concern, right? I saw that question being raised just now. And yeah, and especially during this time, right, we observe more than 100% of increase in the phishing and lure attacks. All the more we need to protect our users.
All right. I hope that answers your question, Jen Nasri. So we'll take one last questions before we this one. Okay. Is SIEM or SOC only suitable for large enterprise? Desmond or Doctor, anyone will give some inputs on this?
Right. Let me take it up. Can I, Desmond? Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Very interesting question. See, SIEM basically what it does, amalgamate or combine or consider integrate all of your, at least your logs, as well as your security incident into one console. It's gonna give you ease of monitoring rather than you need to open up so many dashboards, so many systems to look at incident or look at issue. You may miss it, and you may not know how to correlate those particular attacks. So if I were to suggest, regardless of the company size, cybersecurity is really something that you need to look at, because the asset is basically not only the equipment that you have in the office, but the value or reputation of your company. You just imagine, let's say your customer profile leak out. People know what's your deal size and stuff. People can do wonderful things to you. So I definitely will encourage people to go for SIEM. Yes, you can start with something small and then you can scale up when time needs. So yeah, that's from me. Maybe that's why you can add up some more.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and especially even if you're a medium-sized corporation, right? I mean, as long as you've got intellectual property, you've got sensitive information, you've got blueprints, your secret sauce, right? You really need to have a monitoring across your environment, visibility, be able to detect advanced threat, and be able to stop them before they cause you harm, right? So, based on one of our studies, the bad guys are potentially in your network for about 72 days before you even realize it. So this is what we call dwell time, right? On average, and this is a Asia Pacific number that our Mandian consultants have analyzed for last year alone. So imagine someone in your house for 72 days before you realize it. I think that's something you should consider or think about. And of course, if you don't want to implement SIM technology and manage it yourself, you don't have a lot of security people, well, do consider Mesiniaga's MSS offering, right? Talk to Jason and the team, monitor it for you 24/7, right? And you have a peace of mind.
Yeah, thanks, Desmond. Okay, I think we have all the questions for now. So we have the last questions that do we offer SOC services? Yeah, yes, we do offer SOC services. So which brings it to the call to action for today. If you can see my slide here, okay. We would like to invite all our participants to get secure. Now we have two packages for the new norm. We call it the new norm necessity package. The first call to action I would like to call upon for all participants is we are currently offering cybersecurity surveillance SOC operations monitoring operations for all the participants today. 3 months free monitoring. So it's a full-fledged SOC monitoring without any limitations. So we will just come in and do the necessaries to monitor your environment, full-fledged SOC monitoring for 3 months without any cost to you, without any charges, and there's no commitment. So do contact your respective account or sales manager to know more about this. And secondly, work from anywhere. Mesiniaga, we have today a special package that we have crafted out, especially for this new norm. We call it the work from anywhere packages from Mesiniaga, and we have very attractive pricings and also solutions to your work from anywhere needs from networking, productivity to security. Do also contact your respective sales or account manager for more details. And lastly, if you have any questions about today's webinar or any questions pertaining cybersecurity that you need help, you can contact your respective account managers or sales manager, or contact me directly at the contact shown here is lowch@mesiniaga.com.my, or you can call me directly at 0123050733. So with that, I would like to end our webinar for today. Thank you for joining, and stay safe.
Thank
you, everybody. Thank you,
Stay safe.
everybody.
Good day.
Thank you for the both Ms. Dr. Sulaiman and Desmond as well for today's presentation. Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks.
All right. Another note to say, to point out, we will send out the today's presentations deck as well. So do wait for we will have all your emails upon registration. So we will send it out to you in within 24 hours. Thank you.